Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I had a subscriber ask me, could I talk a little bit about refeeds, what they're for, how many carbs people should eat, how many calories, things that actually you really can't even answer for most people that simply. It's not a little simple formula, but could I cover it a little bit? So let me put on my +5 out of weaponsmithing, work on skilling up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. All right guys, refeeds, one of those controversial topics as far as what they do and what they do not do. All right, refeeds, for those who do not know, are very high carbohydrate days in which you overfeed. You eat over your maintenance calories. Maintenance calories is how many calories you need to sustain your body weight. You eat more than that in the form of mostly carbohydrates, usually very low fat. It's done in the middle of a diet or during a period of calorie deficit in which you're losing weight. They're done for a host of reasons and by different people for different purposes. Now, one of the things that we need to note here is that refeeds are generally done to maintain athletic performance or weightlifting performance. That is their primary and number one goal. That is the thing that they excel at. That is why you do them. If you are doing them for some other reason, you are using refeeds inappropriately. You're just wanting a cheat day, basically. Or you've bought into some mumbo jumbo that's not true. Particularly to maintain your metabolic rate, to keep you from getting metabolic damage. All right, guys, metabolic damage is bullshit. Plenty of experts have pointed this out, people with credentials in the field, medical doctors, everyone else. Metabolic damage does not exist as far as we can measure or tell. People's metabolism slow down a little bit from prolonged dieting or starvation. Most of that is going to be from actual weight loss. Meaning if you have less muscle and you have less fat and you weigh less, you burn less calories, laying around, walking around, doing everything you do. Your metabolism goes down because you lost weight. In other words, you burn fewer calories at 200 pounds than you would at 300 pounds, whether it's fat or muscle. Muscle burns more than fat, but 100 pounds is still 100 pounds of weight to pack around all day. That takes calories. Outside of the weight change, only a very, very tiny amount of it is attributed to any sort of real metabolic shift, such as hormones and everything else. And when I mean a little bit, I'm talking 100, 150 calories being fairly extreme for most people. Maybe in some of the most extreme cases, 250 calories. Might be how much your metabolism changes due to hormone shifts, and that's easily regainable as soon as you start eating more. So we're talking about very, very small changes, and that takes a long time. For you to see a 250 calorie shift from metabolism, you'd have to starve yourself for quite a bit of time. We're talking about 1,000 calorie diets for months on end. And people don't subject themselves to that very often. So this whole speeding your metabolism back up, really minor. The amount of metabolic shift it would give you back up would be more than offset by the overeating you did. So it would cancel itself out, really, probably. So again, this is not why you should be doing it. Other people, well, to suppress appetite because you get a cheat day. Actually, what a lot of people note after their refeeds, more people, in my experience, note that they get hungrier the day after their refeed than they were the day before the refeed. So for most people, some exceptions, some people get satisfied by them. They do their big refeed, they feel good, they feel satisfied, they feel happy. Most people, actually, their appetite gets worse the day after. It actually can make diet adherence a little bit more difficult. So if you're using it for that purpose, think about it. I mean, that's not really going to help for most people. If you're one of those people and it really helps your appetite, okay. But for at least half of people, if not more, it seems to do the opposite. It hurts it. So that's not why you're doing it. Refeeds are generally done for people who are on a fairly big calorie deficit or they're on very, very low carbohydrates. For the people who are on very low carbohydrates, you need it for athletic performance. You see guys like Jamie Lewis was a world record holder in raw powerlifting in the 181 weight class. He is a massive advocate of ketogenic diets. Now note, he stays at a very low body weight. Not a coincidence there. However, even he admits he needs to carb up on the weekends or he can't perform. He can't train. And he tells everyone, no, you have to do the cycling ketogenic diet. You have to carb load on the weekends. You have to carb load at least once a week or your performance is going to suffer. You can't do this. You can't train with any sort of intensity and volume if you're not going to at least replenish your glycogen stores and super compensate them, which is generally the idea. On a ketogenic diet, your carbohydrate stores get really low And then when you overfeed on carbs, they supercompensate. They hold more glycogen for a little while, for a day or two, more than it would actually hold under normal conditions. Your body swings the pendulum the other way, and then it balances itself back out. So the day after a massive refeed, if you're on a low-carb diet, you can really train harder and put up better numbers than you normally put up, particularly if you weigh over 8 on it, even if you're on a low-carb diet. So that's how people on that do it. For other people, they're doing it to maintain performance. Now, the question becomes, why? What's going on? Well, simply put, losing weight and having depleted muscle glycogen will negatively impact your performance in the gym. If your performance in the gym is impacted while you're losing weight, guess what? Your strength goes down, your workloads go down. What happens to your muscle mass? Your body will start shedding muscle. All right, it will start shedding muscle. When that happens, you're kind of defeating the purpose of dieting, aren't you? You people diet to lose body fat, not just weight, but body fat is your primary goal. In a perfect world, all the weight you lose is body fat. That's a perfect diet, right? That's what we're striving for. But your body will give up muscle mass, and the best way to force your body to maintain muscle mass is, 1, give it enough protein to hold on to the muscle. Number 2, give it enough performance in the gym that your body feels the need to hold on to the muscle that you've gained. If your strength goes down, your performance goes down from lifting weights, and you are losing weight, you can expect muscle loss to start in the very near future. Refeeds replenish muscle glycogen. They give you a little anabolic spike because you are in a very, very catabolic state. And remember, guys, anabolism versus catabolism is going on all the time in your body. It's not like when I say a catabolic state, I mean catabolism, muscle breakdown is going to start exceeding muscle building, because both happen full time, both happen every minute of every day in every single living person on earth, but it will start exceeding it. Your body will want to start losing muscle mass. When you give it a big shot of carbohydrates, especially overfeeding, you've overeaten 500 more or 1,000 more calories than your maintenance. So let's say you've been losing weight at a 500 calorie deficit roughly. Your maintenance is about 3,000. You've been on 2,500 calories for 6 days through the week. You do a refeed, you eat 1,000 calories more than that. So you go up to 4,000 calories of almost all carbohydrates. Your body actually won't gain any body fat. As long as you kept your dietary fat intake really, really low on your refeed day, and there's been literature to prove this, Lyle McDonald has a lot of data on this, your body will not gain any body fat from that overfeeding. 0. All right? As long as you're in a depleted state, you've been calorie depleted for several days, you've been in a calorie deficit and lost weight in the previous days going into that refeed, your body will not store any body fat during that single day, particularly if you're eating almost all carbohydrates. It will, however, replenish muscle glycogen, and in some cases supercompensate muscle glycogen. Well, that means the next couple of days you're going to have much better performance in the gym. Number 1, all of that insulin that it created, all that IGF-1 that it created from the carb overfeeding is going to create an anabolic environment. Hopefully, because you will have lost muscle through the week. But hopefully on the refeed day, your body will regain the muscle that it lost. That's the idea, is that hopefully you only lost a few grams of muscle mass. Your body will regain what you have lost through that large anabolic signaling that happened from the carb overfeeding. Also, you will then be able to take the muscle glycogen that you have supercompensated and use that to train harder the next time you go in the gym. All right, if you can come in and train a little harder, put in a little more effort, it will re-stimulate your body. Hey, I need to build muscle, not lose muscle, and it will go ahead and help you hold on to that muscle mass. And that's the idea. You won't really build net muscle for the week, but ideally, if this is done right, it will minimize muscle loss throughout the week, and that's really what you're shooting for. You're not usually going to gain muscle when you're losing weight unless you're a noob. Now, the other method of refeeding is one that Lyle McDonald has discussed quite a bit, of using it to recomposition, which means you really do gain muscle. But to do his method correctly, I'm not going to break it down for you because you really need to go read his book, UD 2.0, to understand that. Lyle McDonald came up with a method to where you overfeed so much that you gain muscle. And what he has people do is run a period of time to where people are in a large calorie deficit. And I'm talking up to 1,000 calorie deficit per day. So instead of your 3,000 calories being at 2,500 to drop down, you might be at 2,000 or 1,800. for like 4 or 5 days straight. Then, to make up for that, you come in and eat like 7,000 calories on a refeed day of almost pure carbohydrates. You eat enough when you do something like that as a recomposition method. When you do deficits and then refeeds as a body recomposition method, you eat enough calories to regain any weight you lost during the week. Okay, so the way this works, you do not lose weight. You do not lose weight because you end up eating calorie maintenance or even a hair above sometimes. And the way that would work is if you created a calorie deficit of 5,000 calories into deficit, you will make them back up over 2 days. So if Monday through Friday, you ate 1,000 calories less roughly than what you need to maintain. So you have a 3,000 deficit, you ate 2,000 every day, you make up those extra 5,000 calories and extra carbohydrates on the weekend. So that means instead of 3,000 on both days, you would add like 3 and 2. So you would do something like 6,000 calories on Saturday, 5,000 calories on Sunday. But again, almost mostly carbohydrates. You would limit yourself to like maybe 10% of your calories or less being from fat, preferably less. So you do a really high carbohydrate overfeeding so that you regain all the weight that you lost and you put yourself into a very serious anabolic situation. Now, people say, well, wouldn't you gain fat doing that? No, absolutely not. That's been studied quite a bit also. Again, that stuff Lyle has studies linked on everywhere. You can find those in his work. If you've been in a large deficit, it is almost impossible within like a 36-hour period to consume enough carbohydrates for any of the carbs that you eat to be stored as fat. They will be stored as glycogen and they will create a very anabolic environment in the body. So in theory, a method like this would neutralize all of that and you would slowly lose fat and gain muscle at the same time. Now, I will point out it is a dramatic method. So doing staggering calorie deficits with massive refeeds as a recomposition method is a viable method of recomposition, but it is extreme. It can be a little tough to follow, and it's not as fun as it sounds. A lot of people think about that, oh man, strict diet really strict and then binge on the weekend until they realize they're not binging on fatty foods. They're not binging on junk food. They're coming in and just eating starches. Thousands of calories of extra starches, and to the point to where it might make you feel sick. But the method does work. It is a viable method. So that's another way that people use refeeds. So hopefully that kind of breaks that down and explains what refeeds are, why people use them, and how they work in different environments. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.